I know you guys are. You guys haven't moved. I'm looking for Mr. Albert. He snuck out. Okay.
So do you want to go out of order? Or we're going to have him move the pledge?
Yeah, you're gonna take care of it.
No pressure, just waiting.
Here we sit like ducks.
I
in the
got like 30 seconds anyway.
That's why we have two clocks.
All right.
My apologies.
It's all good. I'd like to call this town meeting October 17th to order. Miss Cassie's got it from here.
Okay. I just want to recognize Lisbon Troop 2080 for the Girl Scouts. They're here visiting with us to learn about local government.
Come on up, guys. You can lead us in the pledge.
Lead us in the pledge.
Right up here. Right up here. Stand right in the horseshoe.
No, Lou.
Who's gonna do it?
Flag's over here, girls.
Who's gonna do it? Go for it.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you,
Thank you,
girls.
guys.
Ladies.
You're up, Twyla.
Roll call. Counselor Albert.
Here.
Counselor Colby.
Here.
Counselor Crawford.
Here.
Counselor Lunt.
Here.
Counselor Ward.
Here.
Counselor Crafts.
Excused.
Counselor Brunel.
Here.
Next item.
Is good news and recognition.
Are you gonna read that?
Yeah, we have we need a motion to adopt a proclamation for Eugene Dackmine, who turns 100 years old.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
And it reads as follows. Whereas Eugene Dackmine was born in Lewiston, Maine on November 12, 1917. And whereas he married Carmen in 1941 and they had 2 children, Robert and Susan. And whereas he remembers Lisbon from when he was young, visiting Frank Bernier's farm on the Hewden Road and then working on Mr. Bernier's farm, putting the hay into the barn, milking the cows. And whereas going to the general store on Main Street, traveling to the village by a horse-drawn wagon, pedaling the player piano so they could sing along, and listening to his dad playing his trumpet along with it. The Essex car his dad bought, made by Hudson in 1925 or so. And whereas how life-changing it was to go from then to driving cars, phones, and television. And whereas he loves to fish and hunt and often recalls a time when he brought home a 750-pound moose in 1992. And whereas Eugene Dackmine turns 100 years old on November 12th, 2017, and now therefore, we, the Lisbon Town Council, wish Eugene D. Dackmine a very happy birthday. And in witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the great seal of the town of Lisbon in the state of Maine to be affixed to this 17th day of October in the year 2017. And all those in favor?
Absolutely.
And order passed, 6-0.
I have this here. What do we?
You're gonna sign that? Oh, and that's a little later on.
Okay. Moving right along then.
Yep, we do not have any public hearings. Next would be audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody wishing to address the council for anything on the agenda, please step up. Seeing none. Moving on, Twyla.
Is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any items removed may do so now. Seeing none, order 2017-260B to approve the accounts payable and payroll warrants, number 41 for $22,122.48, number 42 for $170,966.32, and number 43 for $17,579.34, and number 44 for $9,743.75, and number 45 for $309,270.40. And school accounts payable and payroll warrants, number 10 for $481.22, and number 1021 for $325,399.12, and number 1807 for $124,719.49.
You missed number 46, Twyla.
46, oh, yes, 'cause that came in last, for $1,655.41.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, Twyla?
Council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Order 2017-261, E.T. Smith, the floor bid.
Good evening, Ryan Layton, Public Works Director. In your packets should have a copy of the RFP that we sent out to make the repairs to the E.T. Smith Hose Company floor that we discussed during budget season. We sent it to a number of vendors, but we only received one bid. The bid was for $10,965, which includes the demolition of the existing floor and then the installation of a new floor. We'd like permission to award that project to J-Max Custom Concrete Incorporated, same firm that did concrete floor at the Public Works Garage and some other projects for us. They've been really good to deal with, and I think they'll do a good job. So we had budgeted originally or estimated around $25,000, and that was really an estimate. And I'm pretty happy, obviously, with the way the bids came in, so I'd like permission to move forward.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Second.
He answered my question about the fact that he's happy with it, done with the work before, so by all means.
And we're taking it out of unassigned, right? Okay.
Right. All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-262, the town office hours change.
Lydia Colston, Finance Director.
You knew he was gonna ask.
He was going to point at me. So this is the second meeting regarding the town hours. You had asked a question about which days were busiest. Did you receive those?
Correct, we
You
certainly did.
Okay. Okay, and if there was any other questions, just let me know, but.
Just recap for the listening public, which days
Busiest
are,
days?
which the busiest days?
So I looked at a sample of 4 weeks, one from each quarter before the change to a 4-day work week and the same weeks after the change. The results were during the 4-day work weeks, Mondays was the busiest with an average of 157 transactions. Tuesday and Friday followed with an average of 146 transactions each. After the change to the 4-day work week, Monday was the busiest with an average of 275 transactions. Tuesdays was second with an average of 182.
So fair to say that the statistics that you brought in actually back up your recommendation for if we're gonna do the extended hours to keep it on Tuesday night?
Yes. And one reason why I would not recommend doing Monday where it's the busiest is because of holidays. A lot of holidays fall on Monday.
I was thinking that,
And payroll.
And payroll.
right.
My question is around Friday, just going back to what you just mentioned, that
Yep.
Friday before the change to a 4-day was one of the busier days from transactions perspective, correct?
Right, Tuesday and Friday were second.
So when I look at this recommended, and I only see a half day on Friday, and I know what I've heard from the public, it's hard for me to understand why we would only go a half day on Friday, and why we wouldn't look at least extending that out, maybe if not a full day, for a longer period. And that's just my take on it.
Yep.
I've heard the same complaint that people would rather see Wednesday as a half day, and because most people get paid Thursdays or Fridays, and if you're seeing that Monday was the busiest when we switched over, then that goes to tell me that everybody is rushing in to do their business Monday because it's after payday. But if before it went to the 4-day week, it was busy on Friday, that tells me that people are coming out and doing it after they've been paid. So I would rather see Friday be extended than,
Monday was the busiest on both
Correct.
days.
Before and after.
right, but that's what I'm saying is that, but also Friday was one of the busiest days as well when it was a 5-day week. So I would sit there and say that Friday should be a longer extended hour because you're gonna have Mondays that most of our holidays fall on. So if you're closed on Monday, then that leaves Tuesday an extended hour, Wednesday and Thursday, and then half a day on Friday, which to me wouldn't make sense to do it.
I guess I would propose the counter view is the fact that way that I look at this is we either support some variation of what Lydia's putting for her proposal for the extended hours on the Tuesday night to have a night, or I would prefer to see it go back to just standard business hours for the 8 to 5 or whatever it
That's what I
was
would
before the change was made.
I think that's where I live. I just think.
And I heard that from you, that's why I
Yeah.
was circling back around.
I'm not a big fan of reinventing the wheel. I think 8 to 5 works pretty good to me. That's the way I see it. I understand some of the challenges that we run into with overtime, and I know that was expressed. So I'm more than willing to listen to, some variations of that. But I think full days, especially when data supports that prior to this, Friday was a day that was one of the busier days. I think we have to look at that and say,
Do
we
the
have
5
to
full
staff.
work days.
Yeah, we have to
Yep.
staff a full day there. I think that's, Mondays and Fridays. It makes most sense. Anything in between there, you want to get creative, and as long as it works. I know Wednesdays, and Diane had mentioned that Wednesday's a real challenge because of some of the different warrants that need to be signed and whatnot, so.
Just getting payroll done. That wouldn't work midweek, having a half a day working. I think, if you don't want to support what we've put forward to you, which we thought was kind of a balance for the people that work, be open one night, a little bit later, and to cover part of a day on Friday when we're not open now, we just thought that was a good compromise. But if you don't support that, I would think we would need to go back to just 5 working days.
Yeah, and I just, circling back around, I just didn't want to beleaguer the point of the fact that I see the recommendation. If we don't buy into that, it would be almost go back to what we had before, would be the better alternative, because what I don't really see as being productive is trying to incorporate the longest day on a day that we currently don't staff, and you make it a 10-hour day. I think that's counterproductive at the same time.
I think we're going to great lengths to try to offer up extended hours on 2 days, on
Sunday.
Tuesday, on a day that traditionally probably isn't a super volume day to begin with. And then, and just to adjust patterns, it would take some time to get some people to recognize, oh, that's when I got to go in and do my business. So it might be a little bit more of work than anything else. I think if you just 8 to 5, you're good to go. But thank you for doing all the work.
Anytime?
Would that be in the form of a motion?
Do you have
Yes,
something
I'll
to
make the motion that we go.
No,
back-
I was,
No, I just had a question.
If we're gonna do the 5-day work week, we need to figure out what those hours are gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that,
That's gonna end up being mandatory overtime every week, right? For meetings?
if we go back to the schedule that you had before we went to the 10-hour days, the office is gonna be open less. It's gonna be open about 38 hours, I believe, is what it was open. We're open 42 hours right now, so we're gonna be
under the
open-
proposal,
No,
current.
current, right now, the way we're open 42 hours a week for the customers. Prior to that, we were only open 38. The proposal is to be open for 40. So now we would have to go back and rework what that 5-day work week, if you wanna go back to the way it was before we changed to 10-hour days, you just need to know that that's a 38-hour time for the public versus the 42 right now. Or we can go and we can tweak that some so that we're open longer for the public, but we need to know we need to figure out what those hours are gonna be.
Yeah, I think that,
And we could do that, that's certainly easy.
If
that's
it
what
was
you
8 to 5, what would the hours be available to the public?
That was the 38,
Yeah.
that's where the
8 to
38 came
5.
from,
So
if I
we're-
remember.
we're- But you'd need to
Well,
stay,
The hours were
They
8:30 to 5.
they were 8 to 4:30.
okay, right.
It was 8:30 to 4:30.
straight 8 with lunches.
It was 8:30 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the staff came in when, Ryan? I wasn't here when. 8:15 to 4:40. So we can certainly go back
That
to
would
that
be
schedule
my
if that's what you want, or
suggestion,
we
would be
can.
just to make it easy and go back to what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where I live.
And
I
then at
understand
that
this-
point, if people have to, I mean, like any other business, if you have to do your business, you're gonna have to make it work within your schedule. I mean, we can't make it work for everybody. We can't make everybody happy,
Right,
but
exactly, I agree.
at least then they have the Friday, so if it's payday and they need to come in and register their vehicle or pay their
It's
water
time to
bills or
be on
whatever,
payday.
Full day?
you know, they know, okay, I have to leave an hour early, you know, to get there on time, but at least they can come in.
Most municipalities work under schedules like that anyway.
I think
Right.
the thing that we got to go back to is what drove us to get here and consider the change. Some of it was related to making sure that our customers, the employees, the staff of this building, we can retain them because we don't have an infinite amount of money to throw at them. So we have to get creative on perks that we can offer that will allow them to say, hey, I may not make the most money at Lisbon, but I do get a schedule that works for me and my family. So that's how we can retain these employees. That's one piece. And the other piece is the constituents coming out and saying, I don't like this because I can't get there when I need to get there right now. Can we have some access on Fridays? So that's the two things that I'm weighing when I come here and talk about this. So I understand what you're saying, Diane, about this. The schedule offers more actual open hours for the office, but I don't think it's going to afford the folks who have access at particular times to get there. You know, if that makes sense.
So,
I mean, one option would be to look at going back to the schedule that we had, the previous one, but also staying open, an extra hour or two on, on like on Tuesday, so it's 38 hours if we made it,
You would
39
have to
and a
be
half
willing
hours,
to
so I could stay
pay
open
the
a little later
overtime.
on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
That would be more than, because this schedule, the way it was before, the
Right,
employees
the way
still
before
work 40
was
hours.
38 hours, you said, and
Yeah,
now
but
we're
the
at
employees
42.
work 40
So-
hours.
What?
The employees work 40 hours.
So you'd have to pay overtime.
Mhm.
If that's what you're willing to do, we can do that.
that goes back to Mr. Albert's point. We can staff anything. You just better be
Right.
prepared to pay for it.
All about the cost.
Yeah, I heard somebody say Saturdays. We'll do whatever you want, but when it comes time to,
Won't.
yeah.
Wait, but didn't you say that we were open for 42 hours on the current schedule?
Current schedule's 42.
So that would mean that we would be paying them overtime now, right?
If they are working after 6 o'clock, we are,
Their lunches are in that
their
one.
lunches are in that.
Okay.
So what are we saying? Back to the old?
Straw poll. The fact is, I heard your proposal that needs some tweaking is what I'm hearing from staff to be able to address 5 work
Well,
days.
Only if we're not gonna go back to the original schedule, back to the way it was before we went to the 10-hour days. If that's what you wanna do, we don't have to
Which
tweak
was
anything.
thought
8:30 to
out at that
4:30?
point,
Right.
which is the staff.
4:30 is
You
fine.
actually gave,
The
you
hours
gave the
that it's
times.
open.
It was
Hours.
That it's open.
Right.
staff
Brian
work
was
what to
telling
what?
you.
Yep.
8:15 to 4:45.
And-
Right.
Right. So it cleared the queue, so you didn't have somebody right there and you had to service the customer before you could leave anyways.
Would we be able to do 8:30 to 5 without going in? I mean, you can shake your head at me all you want, but I mean, logically, thinking here,
I think if we're gonna do it, we ought to just go back to the original schedule for now, and if you wanna tweak it again later on after the budget, because we're gonna end up in mandatory. Sometimes we don't pay any overtime, but if we go something other than 8:30 to 4:30, we are gonna end up paying mandatory overtime, and I don't have that in the budget,
Right.
so.
Anything else has a change in the budget?
We do have some in there for those instances where we have somebody at 6 o'clock, but right now, people are coming in the minute we open to work. They're not coming in 15 minutes early.
When we want to institute this change, if we,
She was shooting for December 1.
Let's make it December 4th on a Monday, so we start a brand-new week.
yeah, and plus
would
gives
be
us a
my
little time,
recommendation.
gives us a little time to get the message out if we're
Yeah.
talking about. Do we want to vote on this tonight if we're just going to go back to the original hours previous, because there's no tweaking involved? My understanding is.
That's-
If
it's
you
8:30
vote on
to
it
4:30.
tonight, we can include it in the mass mailing that's going out with the sewer project.
Yeah,
And that's, yeah, you see,
that's
you read
what
my
we
mind,
wanna
there we
do.
go.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to force the issue, I'm just asking what everybody's consensus is. If we're gonna go back to 8:30 to 4:30, we have an opportunity to get it out to the public to notify them. as
And the
well.
biggest reason we're going back to it is the energy savings didn't work, and we're getting the fact that the issue with the 4-day week is actually getting more complicated for staffing versus what it was perceived to benefit for the sales pitch.
Exactly.
I say 5-day. Go back to the original.
It's straw
Right.
polls, we can at least,
Yep, me too.
I'm indifferent, I go either way, because I could support staff too.
Correct. Again, we've asked for the staff that works here to compile lots of information to show us what is the best days to be opened. They give it to us. You ask them the more questions, they bring you back all the answers. It is the same time that they told you the first time, and now you want to change it. Again, I'm all for the public. That's what we're all here for. We're public servants. I'm also for the staff. If this is the days they say are the days that they get the most work, and these are the days that they should be open, that's why we pay them, because they know a lot more than us. Now, if you want to, you don't want to support what you've asked them to do, and you want to change it again to something else, and they're all right with it, well, I guess I'll go along with it. But
Right.
That's my view.
I need a motion if we're gonna actually do it. The motion I would say is we go back to what the office hours were, because it is the easiest fix that doesn't address a budget shortfall.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
One question for discussion first. So the accrual change to go from a 5-day work week to a 4, we just are reversing that on the staffs for, how's that work? How'd that work to start?
Say that again?
Yeah.
Everybody working a 10-hour day
Yeah.
versus an 8-hour day. Somebody had to actually convert your time that you're actually accruing. You would be doing the reverse to get it back to an 8-hour day is all we're talking, correct?
Yeah, we may have to have a personnel policy change. I'll
That's
look at
where I was going to live, because it's tied to that we need to address this as well, because that was thought out the first time through. And that's the only reason I'm bringing it. It's the cold fish numbers guy sitting in the room asking the question, is you got to this point that was thought out that way, we have
Yeah.
to do the opposite, going back. Okay. I heard a motion, I heard a second. All in favor? Opposed? And that is strictly because I was going with the original recommendation, but 4-2, you
We
got
have
your
4
miss?
in favor, so order
Yep.
passes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2017-263, the library request to change hours.
This one.
Good evening, members of the Town Council, Town Manager, and Lisbon citizens. My name is Diane Netto, Library Director, and in front of you is also a request for a change in hours based on what you just went through with the town office hours. We are very aware, like the town office people, when people come through, what they're asking for hours and what seems to be working in this community, and so we always are mindful of that. And of course, we have the wonderful little clicker that tells us every day how many people come through our doors, upstairs and down. And what the changes that were put in place when we went to 6 o'clock, we thought that would bring in a bunch of people between 5 and 6. It has not. There's some evenings after 5 we see 2 people. There's some evenings we see no one after 5, especially as it gets darker earlier. The families are in for the night. However, part of that change originally, we went to 8:30 instead of 9. People love that. They're happy to come through the door at 8:30. They have a fax they need to send or photocopy before they go off to work or something like that. So that has worked. But the 5 to 6 pretty much has not done what it was supposed to. They missed the Monday tremendously. 3 of us are work Mondays, working on the rebar coating projects and other ongoing projects, and at least 5, 6, 7 people every Monday knock at the door or peek in the window, wave us to come here, I gotta get in. They need that kind of, after a weekend, I need a fax, it's my social security, it's whatever it is, could you please let me in? I won't tell anyone. I won't tell council, I won't tell the town manager, that kind of thing. I'm like, oh boy. And you feel bad. That's never what we want to do, is turn people away. Therefore, we're proposing we stay open. We open at 8:30. That would stay the same. We'd continue the one evening till 7 p.m. On Tuesday. That's been there forever. Cut us back to 5 o'clock, and that won't affect the programs. The Friday program starts about 3:45, and by 4:45, they pretty much had it. They're hungry. They want to go home. So that wouldn't kick kids out when they're not done their Legos or their crafts, I assure you. We'd like to add the Monday morning, again, because there are 3 of us there. So there wouldn't be no impact to the schedule, to the other staff, or to payroll. So we would bring back 6 days of service to the community, and I really think it would be a benefit to the Lisbon community.
Any questions? It's 3 staff on Mondays that are working.
Correct.
What are they doing if the library's closed? Can you just bring me up to speed?
Cindy is in the process of re-barcoding and re-cataloging our 37,000 volumes.
Right.
Claudia picks up that slack. She's the one that helps with just the barcoding part of it. And she's also assisting me bringing back adult programming. That's the day she does all the artwork. She reaches out to the people that we're trying to get here. And I am weeding the collection. You're in the stacks when people aren't there. You're assessing your collection. I bring a bunch back to the computer because now that we're in the consortium, you have to check that. You're not the only one
Right.
in the state. So it's that kind of
Safe,
stuff
safe
that
to
we
say
don't.
you're doing stuff that's actually best when somebody isn't in the building to be able to get caught
Absolutely,
up.
because the
on. Okay.
computers are not being
That's-
used
that's what I was
for
trying to get.
patron services,
Right.
correct.
No budgetary impact because it's just
And
staffing?
whatsoever, the three of us are there anyways, and we're happy to open the doors at 8:30 and help the people with those immediate needs that they have after a weekend.
I'm not opposed to it.
Do you have programming on Tuesday evening that goes past 5 o'clock, and that's why you're going to 7, or is that just
That's been
extended hours?
tradition. It's the one night that people are used to. They know that if they have library business, and people, as Counselor was saying, those people, if they're working, they know that's the night that after 5 o'clock, I'm going to book it to the library to get my movies for the week. But it gives them that little bit of leeway, and it's always been there, so it's traditional.
So you see traffic that supports that after 5?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd entertain a motion. if
I'll
that's
make the
case.
motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-264, the library request to accept donations for the Linda S. Patrick Memorial Fund.
Thank you, ladies.
The second request from the library is to seek town council permission to accept donations from family and friends to establish a memorial fund in memory of Lisbon resident, a dear friend and library patron, Linda S. Patrick, who passed away on September 30th, 2017. The department is seeking your permission to accept gifts in memory of her per request of her family. They would like to set up a memorial fund through the town's financial system where the funds could be deposited and expended through the library department. I met with the finance director on the 4th of October, and she assured me this type of memorial fund can be set up and used efficiently with the Munich system. The family has requested that the funds be used to purchase books for the collection. She was an avid reader. And to purchase/construct new flower boxes in the front of the library per your review and permission as well.
Sounds great.
The last piece of what you said in your write-up here was to accept other people being able to donate
Mrs.
as
Barnes
well
and I thought
outside.
that would be wise on the town's part, our part, to give other families that opportunity to do this.
Right.
When, they'll say, well, this is a wonderful thing, what can I do to enhance the library, the department, if family would like to do that. So that would open the door to others to help
Doing the
us,
same,
to-
right.
to help the community.
My only comment on that is I've seen it where sometimes the nature of the donation is too restrictive and what the request is
Mm-hmm.
what they're looking for. I like the way the family has done this one for Miss Patrick. It's right in your goal for
Mm-hmm. Correct.
stacks or something general. As long as the gifts are not too restrictive, that it's just easier to say no
And
on the
You're right, sir.
donation.
In the old days, when there were two separate friends groups, and I remember the village, when we took them over, I couldn't understand why they had so many bonsai cutting trees. And it was someone who had left money, and they had to buy bonsai cutting trees, books. And those restrictions just don't work.
Right.
And
I'd
so,
like to give you the latitude
Sure.
to be able to say, no,
Correct.
I can't do this.
Right,
It just doesn't make
absolutely.
sense.
absolutely. And I wouldn't do that without consulting Mrs. Barnes anyway,
Right.
saying, this
Right.
family wants us just to, to buy books on snakes. We can't do that. But general, what is it your library needs? What's the vision for the future? And this is how this came about. The family came to visit me, and we sat at the front
Right.
table.
Right.
And they admired the stained glass pieces and the new outside light. And I said to them, it's beautiful at night, and our vision is to complete the facade with window boxes. And in their time of grief, you could almost see a feeling of, oh my goodness. And I said, is that and the daughters looked at each other and said, our mother had a beautiful garden. Had you seen her backyard, you would have been amazed. And this would be a nice way to remember her throughout the community as
Sure.
people visit, so.
It's a great idea.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Arm wrestle.
Let's go.
In favor.
All those in favor, 6-0?
Thank you.
Said I'm not done yet.
I know. I feel like Ryan, because he's here all
No, everybody likes you.
Poor Ryan.
Ryan.
And it is true.
Ryan's taking heat.
Have you met somebody that hasn't? That's, absolutely.
Poor Ryan.
Order 2017 and 265, the library request to close the library on Friday, October 27th for training.
This last request is seeking your permission to send all 6 of us, not too far, just to Topsom, to attend the first Mills Users Group meeting from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is the new consortium that we've been in since May. This would give us an opportunity to meet staff from the other 12 libraries, we call them sister libraries, and to get information and updates from the Infonet staff who oversees this. Each of us has specific tasks within the mill system that requires updates, and all of us at this point, after being in the system for about 6 months, have questions associated to those tasks that we'd like one-on-one, and this would be the forum that says, hey, part of these overdues, what's with this? What can make it better, or something like that. This would require us to be closed the morning hours till about 2:20. It's on a Friday, and as I said, it's just in Topsom, so we could get back here quickly. It's usually the least busiest day until the children arrive for their 3:30 crafts, and we'd be back to do that certainly and to fulfill our 6 p.m. shift. I'm sorry this is kind of late. It took the state longer to get back to me. They were kind of surprised that all 6 of us wanted to attend, I think, and then they thought it was a great idea and encouraged other libraries to do the same. So it will give us about a week to notify our patrons via our Facebook, signs, hands out, and everything else that we do. But in the future, I think the meetings will be a little bit more limited to a certain part of the mills, but this one is just because it's the first one, and 12 of us would like to, 12 libraries would like to meet each other and move the system forward.
Given the nature of the fact that it's new for the software and to be able to embrace the environment that they're in, I think it's completely reasonable request.
I'll make the motion.
Take a yeah, second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-266 to amend Chapter 50, Section 48, municipal parking lots. This is the first reading. It will require a roll call vote.
So this, part of the ordinance pertains to the municipal parking lots downtown and permitted parking. Recently, we had a request to purchase 24-hour parking permits, but the way the current ordinance is worded, the people that can do that have to be adjacent to that parking lot. And the request came from somebody who is not adjacent to that. So I met with Ryan, Chief Hagan, and Dennis to try to tweak this a little bit to accommodate those businesses and residents located on Main Street or in the area adjacent to the municipal parking lot that do not have off-street parking, and make it only available to those people. Right now, it's available to people that are adjacent to that parking lot, and it really doesn't apply to anybody but maybe the Frosties building. Everybody else has parking. So it doesn't work for the 3 people that wanna purchase 24-hour parking permits. So that's the main reason we have come back to you now to do this. And I sent it, we just met last week, and I sent it off to Dan Stockford, and he's further tweaked it a little bit. He didn't make any major changes, and I didn't get that back until today. And I wanted to get it on the agenda for tonight so that we could start the process in the public hearing before we have snow. The only other alternative is if you don't want to tweak it, it's not gonna work the way it is, but maybe to just repeal parts of this. Some of this you don't wanna repeal, but if you don't want to sell permits and just let people park as they want to, and if they wanna do it 24 hours a day, then I would just repeal it.
I guess that was my
Yeah.
my question was landing.
Yep. We need
What's
to
the
do more
recourse if
work.
nobody comes to us to actually ask for a permit now? Are there people parking down there 24/7 now? Do we know?
Yes, I would
think
suspect
that-
as well.
Now that there is 3 tenants downtown that we didn't have before, yes. we
Right.
expect that they are, and we're not doing anything. But they wanted to buy a permit, and that's when we couldn't
Right,
sell
right,
it.
right.
That's
So
what-
they went through the process to be able to ask,
Yeah.
because that's the way it's there. But my question is if you got 3 people that are now asking and you've got others that aren't, what's the recourse to
Make the
require?
others ask.
Yeah. There's 2 ways to make equity. A lot of people just don't like the second way.
Oh, well.
That's, so if I'm hearing correctly, there's none. What's the enforcement mechanism? I know there's been none, because we talked to the chief when we first talked about this, is that
Right.
there's been no citations ever issued on the topic, and
'Cause we
he
have-
was new at the time and didn't know that we even had a parking enforcement issue.
I think last winter, we had 1 car that was parking down there, and that's the first time in a long, long time that somebody's parked down there during the winter.
Okay.
So I don't think it was that big of an issue.
But there's potential with the
So-
changing scope of what is down there now that's the issue.
We're trying to get in front of this is why, that's my take on it. We're just trying to
Right,
get in
that's
front of
what,
it.
right.
Right.
The reason I'm,
It probably wouldn't be here tonight in front of you if we hadn't had those 3 people, somebody wanting to
They're trying to
buy
do the right
permits
thing.
For 3 people, which they're trying to do the right thing, but unfortunately, it's not crafted to accommodate them, so.
right.
So if we do
That's
not,
what I was trying to do.
if we
is-
do nothing, it's business as usual.
I say we repeal it. We
Well,
don't have
that's
to deal
what-
with it again.
When it was on the fee schedule, that was what it was ultimately doing. The fact is that we stopped short of that because it was brought up at that point, is that we may be setting it up for a discussion we didn't want to go down.
Right.
My suggestion is if you don't wanna deal with it, then just repeal parts of this so that we're in compliance with our own ordinance. That would be mine. I mean, there's no point in having an ordinance on the books if we're not enforcing it, so.
Right.
If it's not gonna be an issue and you don't care who parks down there and for how long, I would, we don't wanna repeal all of this, sections we wanna keep. I would go and, I'd wanna bring it back to you again.
Right.
With a repeal mechanism.
My only concern is if you repeal it entirely, then you may have people take advantage of it so we can park a trailer and live down there, you know? I mean, I think people could exploit it if there's no enforcement at all.
If I could make a comment, there are some apartments that are on top of the new Moxie store. Those people have absolutely no parking whatsoever. So they're gonna be parking in that
Where do you think them 3,
I'm assuming the simpler.
those would be the 3 apartments we're
Those
assuming,
are the 3 that
Miriam.
came forward, is what I'm assuming.
I'm
That's what we're
assuming
talking
those 3
about.
people, those 3
Okay,
apartments
so-
have came forward because of the fact they have no parking.
How many
I
parking
understand,
permits?
Mark, you make a very valid point to say somebody could roll in here, because we have to think about that could be a reality if we don't have something in
If you
place.
have nothing, it's hard to get it,
Right.
you know, you're
Right.
gonna be grandfathered
What's,
in there.
is there anything else that would address that scenario that Mark mentioned?
Sell them a permit.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, if you
So
repeal
no,
this, then you don't
somebody
have that.
decides to come and squat
Well,
in that back lot, what prevents, what mechanism do we have in place? to
One of the
prevent
ones that Lewison uses for the parking garages, as soon as that vehicle becomes unregistered, you can tow it just in.
So we gotta hold out till that
For
point.
a year.
But what if
Yeah.
it doesn't?
Unregistered.
What if they
But
keep
what if it
registered?
doesn't become
Registered.
unregistered?
I don't like the idea of having no mechanism at all there.
Right now, there's none
Well, there is,
in
we just don't
play.
enforce it.
There's, exactly, we have a statute, that's what I'm saying, it's
Well,
it's
you
on,
could
it's
enforce it if
on
somebody
paper,
tried to
but we're
park
not
there
doing anything.
Right.
How many
But
parking
I don't think
permits?
it's really been an issue, though, up until last winter. for
Every
one-
year?
total.
Ryan, you gonna come up
Hasn't
here and
been a
straighten us
reason
out?
for
Since inception,
So
there's never been one
Let's just get
issue.
rid of it. That's
Go
my
ahead,
opinion.
Ryan.
Ryan,
Please.
Public Works Director. When we talked about it, one of the things that Chief Hagan said was that about getting into the business of parking and not, wanting to take that aspect on. I think you can repeal majority of it, but you need to leave in some caveats for winter especially.
Right.
That they have to be relocated
So you can
during a
plow.
parking ban or whatever, and then that's their own responsibility to deal with that.
Now,
I don't.
I agree with
mean,
that. I
I
totally
understand
agree
some
with
of
that.
these other scenarios, but I think you're right. I think you can tweak it to the point where you provide the protection you need.
without actual having to go to the
I mean, it's
point
gonna
of
be
selling.
obvious if you've got a problem. Like, there's a
Right.
trailer that's been parked there for I don't know how long. We don't know who owns it. Hasn't been a problem until it starts snowing, and then,
Address it then.
so
My other question is if you open it up and you start selling, are you obligated to actually have a higher level? We talked about last year dealing with snow removal and staging in different mechanism than we've done in the
for
past.
that, but it's also then it's the chasing down. It's the, well, if they come in, when did they get their sticker? What color is it gonna be?
The dump permit
Change it
scenario
every
down
year.
on
Yeah, I
Main
mean,
Street.
It's opening up a
Can of worms.
can of worms that would just, we're not staffed to handle at this point anyway.
Right. Which is where we've collectively got at this point. We've sold no passes and we've had no enforcement to have to worry about the
Had
no
real
passes.
issues, other than one car last winter.
Right, and
That
that's,
was a matter of tracking down who owned it and getting them to move it.
and I remember the night we were looking through the fee schedule, why the heck is this here? And we don't know why it benefited or why it was created to begin with and why are we keep moving forward. But I agree with the approach to get to this point is the fact that just cutting it out eliminates the protections that you were referring to.
So tweak it to,
repeal sections of it, but still put in the protections that we need, and we'll just not do any selling of permits. Okay, I can.
Sounds good to me.
That's easy.
thank you,
That's-
Ryan.
And does that require public hearing as well? And
That
we'll-
will, because we'll be
Taking
changing the
something. Right,
changing the
that's what I
ordinance.
assumed. Okay. Are we comfortable living there?
Works for me.
I didn't hear everybody saying no, so let's go that route.
So does that apply to section, or to order 2017-267 to amend the fee schedule as well?
Yeah, we'll,
Table that?
table that as well.
So we'll move that to the next agenda.
Right
The
along.
next item is order 2017-268, the award of the Boston Post cane to Lisbon's oldest citizen. I believe you have that, Mr. Chairman.
I certainly do.
So we need a motion.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Would you like to read it, 6.0?
No, I need your AM radio voice to read that for
All
me.
right. Lisbon is very proud to present the Boston Post Cane Award to Eugene Dack Mind. For more than 100 years, the Boston Post cane has been awarded to the oldest resident of Lisbon, passing from one elder to the next. The Lisbon Town Council, on October 17, 2017, has just recognized Lisbon's oldest citizen, Eugene Dack Mind, who turns 100 this 11th day of November 2017. So the cane will be displayed here at the town hall, honoring the life of Eugene Dackmind. And we'll get together and we will have a representation from the council, the town manager, and the town clerk. Plus we'll get the media to attend and we'll go and visit him and present him with a plaque and take some pictures for you.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thank you, Twan.
Thank you. I know he's looking forward to it. He's waited a long time. He's actually at 95 he came in and said, "I'm the oldest person." I said, "No, not yet." Now he is. So the next item is order 2017-269, the snowmobile funds to the Riverside Trail Riders, snowmobile and ATV club request.
Welcome again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis, for being patient.
I got ahead of myself last time. Well, as you all know, the Riverside Snowmobile Club is, looking to get a new, grooming machine, and we have one that we can get that it's, the Trailmaster wanted doing it, it's a Yamaha, PK 540, and we can get it from, Woody's at a price of $8,598. And that'll be come out of the recreational land use fund. That each snowmobile that's licensed in town, all through the state the towns get $6 back from that, and that fund is done, just thinking about it. It's, Pinewood Road Fields, was about 15,000 more on that. The skating rink down here, which we had tarred. So, it's a good fund, and we're looking to get, purchase this machine.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Third. Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Curtis.
Order 2017-270, the amendment to the site plan review ordinance, Chapter 62, site plans. This is a first reading. It will require a roll call vote.
Who's presenting?
I'll let Dawn present this one.
How's that feel?
Site-
You're presenting.
You're up, Dawn. Dawn. He was,
You have
he was
a
waiting for his
copy?
walk-down music, that's what he was.
Despite this long memo, it's really a small change, and it's a change of use. It's to clarify when there is a property change of use, it actually needs site plan review if it's commercial. And also if there's a same use that's not used for a couple of years. And that's just 2 lines in there. I think it's got slightly tweaked today, but to change, eliminate property to just plain use, which is more of a legal term. This is all part of the simple fix to site plan review. Eventually, we hope to put site plan review under what now is Chapter 70 zoning, which many other cities and towns have done. Lewiston has it that way. It just makes every bit of definition and every bit of language come under the same thing, so you don't have to keep defining and things like that. However, it takes a lot of work and won't be something we address probably in this year, maybe not even next year, so we need to fix this in the meantime. So that's it.
Any questions of Don? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Second.
It's gonna be a roll call.
Roll
It
call.
is.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. Ready?
was-
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
and Counselor Crawford.
Yes.
6 yeas. Order passed.
Next item, Twyla?
Other business, council committee reports.
School's up.
Oh, what did we do? I'm just trying to recall. Well, yes, we had Ross Cunningham was voted as the interim to fill the vacant seat on the school committee. So that was the happenings of that last meeting.
Perfect. Planning board? We had a site plan review for Springworks Farms, and Domino's. The Domino's actually went back to the original plan, if I remember correctly. And comprehensive plan actual review happened Thursday following their meeting. We have 10 people in attendance. It was a good session. The breakout for the topics actually was more joint discussion amongst the room. It was a longer meeting. It probably lasted, 9:30, 9:45 before we finally got out of here?
One of the planners said he thought it was more like a focus group and thought it was very productive.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was a lot of good information to work towards the end goal of the comprehensive plan. Water?
All I really have is water rates. They've been discussing water rates for next year.
LDC, sir.
No new news.
Conservation?
Nothing to report?
Recreation?
Nothing to report.
County budget. I have a new team member. Mark was actually voted in as the other District 4 representative. Guy Desjardins actually had to resign. We are struggling anything for a budget that we hope to have finalized tomorrow night needs 11 votes to enact any change on something forced back to the commissioners. And it's been a little difficult when we don't have 11 people sitting in the room. So Mark now makes 12. So tomorrow night should be a very productive meeting to be able to do that. Anybody reading the local Sun Journal last week probably noticed that they got it wrong. We voted for the item, but there were 3 votes to try to work towards increasing transit in this area for bus, and that was a very well-discussed item at that meeting. As predicted, there are communities that don't see the benefit when they already have an existing transit plan funded that won't benefit outreaching communities is the plan, is the discussion. They referred to skin in the game. I assured members present that night that Lisbon, 1 year later, has more skin in the game, and it's unfortunate that the rest of the county hasn't stepped forward as well. So that would be my presentation. Anything else?
Nope, I think you covered it pretty well.
Thank you, sir. Library.
I think we already covered that pretty well too, just to, you know, Diane had a lot of
Diane's on
information
top
there.
of it tonight, right.
Want to recap everything she was?
No.
Department,
Town managers report?
town manager.
Just last week, I sent out the RFP to 6 different EMS providers to give us a quote for EMS services. The core part of the RFP is to provide service as we have it today with a base here in Lisbon. And then I provided a couple of optional areas where they can give us options. One's an option to provide service from where they exist coming into Lisbon, and another one option is, if you can think of anything else outside of the box that we haven't thought of, put that option on the table. So they'll be coming back in November if I get any responses. But all 6, including Lisbon Emergency, was sent the RFP.
Perfect.
That's it.
Department reports. Going through the content of those, I would like to thank Deputy Chiefs Leclerc and Robitaille for stepping up and filling the vacancy within that. There's a lot of information, including this report, that need to be kept up on. So whether it be, you know, testing of vehicles and training and all the other things that they're involved with, I want to thank them for continuing the work of the fire department for us. I had a couple other notes, if you don't mind. Beaver Park had a local Boy Scout troop actually come in. I was just curious to know if they actually knew. I have friends in the Brunswick area or associated with that, so I'm glad to see that Scouts are actually back in that facility because it's an excellent place to be used for a variety of terms. I applaud Mark's efforts increasing the before and after care by 1/3 over last year. That's a huge statistic that actually shows the quality of the programming that we got going on for our kids here locally. Lydia's question, yours is less of it's a finance one, because I'm a numbers guy. You gave your list of the departments that are up. That are up in expenditures?
Yes,
Legal, technology, finance, and tax collector?
yes.
I'm assuming you guys are taking efforts within those divisions to come in underneath the budget that we approved?
Yeah, some of what you're seeing is just a timing of journal entries
That's what
from
I assumed.
when things weren't being posted to when they are. A lot of stuff got posted towards the end of the year in the prior year, so that data is a little skewed there. You'll see that in the tax collector, and finance, we're up over last year, but we're not up over budget. That's at this point,
Perfect.
okay?
Perfect. The biggest thing is so that if anybody else actually reviewing these things here and they have that one soundbite, I wanted you to be able to speak on behalf of that you're taking action steps that you know what the end game is going to be.
Yep, we're all-
And that the uptick, although it is an uptick, by the end of the year, it's not going to be over what the anticipated budget was,
Right.
correct?
as of right now, correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was everything on those. Next item, Twyla.
Audience participation for new items?
Anybody has anything that we didn't cover tonight they'd like to see in the future, by all means, step up. Seeing no movement?
Next item is under appointments, Order 2017-271, to appoint the warden for the November 7th election.
Right on. Yes, we can support her.
Yeah,
You're it, Twyla.
we know that gal.
Covering for Rick Roberts, he's away.
I can
Go,
never support
Twyla.
Rick Watt Roberts. We've covered that before.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy's sketchy. His credibility should be challenged.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Order passes, yeah.
Way to keep us on track, Christian.
Counselor
I appreciate that.
Communications.
Anybody got anything to share that hasn't already been covered? Seeing none. Next item, 12.
Executive session, Order 2017-272, per 1 MRSA, Section 4056C, acquisition of real property or economic development.
Will there be a vote?
No.
So you folks are free to go home.
Thanks for coming out.
Yes.
We want to make a motion.
Yes, please.
I will make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
We are in at whatever.
Thank you,
time it
folks.
is. Good night now.
We'll stay right here.
Good night now.
See something in there.
Yeah, we never got to talk.
We will in a minute, as soon as they close that door. Anything you... Better not be about my red glasses. Yeah, maybe, yeah, they look swell.
No, the reason I made that
Very Elton
comment
John.
is apparently, Dr. Mike and, the new owners, they're not seeing eye to